So let's get to that conversation that we are having this morning. It's been a long year. It's been quite a long season within the pandemic. But also, let's just take back, those steps to the pandemic and beyond, because life has been happening to all of us. Now, the point of this conversation is for us to, look back and think about all those experiences that you have faced. Some of them, while you were going through them, felt like such a huge task, something that you would never be able to overcome. But years later, in retrospect, you see how actually this has made you a stronger person. So we are having a Thanksgiving edition, even as we speak about second chances here in life. Now remember, we're coming to you live from the Cafe Deli here on Moi Avenue in Nairobi. And to help me, put this into perspective, I have three people who have been gracious enough to join us this rainy and cold morning here in Nairobi. We have Elizabeth Mereb, who is a health journalist, Fiona Kathure, who is the VP Brand Management at Luku, and of course we have Peter Kitabi, who is a leadership enthusiast and program assistant at 1 Million Strong. Thank you guys for making time despite the rain. All right, so when I talk about second chances and how some of these experiences we thought were bigger than we are, but in retrospect we've actually become stronger. I'm sure all of you resonate one way or another, and I'll start off with you, Elizabeth. When we talk about second chances, curveballs that you have actually been able to overcome, what does that mean
to you? It has a lot of meanings, because really 2021 has just been a year that gave us new perspectives and renewed strength on really what the human body is capable of doing. And really, maybe I'll speak much about health, because that is what I talk and breathe almost on a daily basis. And with the COVID pandemic and the death toll that we've experienced globally, of course, people had to find some new level of strength. So personally, I've been fortunate enough not to have COVID despite 18 tests, but I've had a different kind of health challenge, and by that I mean I've been dealing with sickle cell anemia, also known as sickle cell disease, and with the pandemic, of course, there were new challenges with the health sector that we had to navigate. And at some point in this journey, I was just done. It got to a point where I had to tell my doctors, I'm tired, my body is tired, my mind is tired, I don't think I can do this anymore. And through friends, doctors, family who just came together and rallied behind me, I'm here. I can talk about it confidently and even smile about it. There are days that we weren't smiling. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get to know more about your sickle cell journey, because it's something that you're born with and it has been quite a journey this far. All right. Okay, so let's hear from the gentleman amongst us. Kitabi, so what does second chances mean to you?
Second chance means just hitting rock bottom, and you get up one morning and you have no sight whatsoever to live through that day, not even the rest of the day, just that particular day, because of something that happened to you, because of a circumstance that has hit you, because of a season that you found yourself in, because of a loved one around you who's been affected by something you're going through, and you really, really can't. When people say I can't, you really can't. Yeah. But just getting an opportunity to just find a reason, find hope to just get through that day, and the other day, and the other day. That's what the second chance looks like for me. When you get unmerited, undeserved, and earned love and favor, that to me is a second chance. Yeah.
Okay, I love that perspective you've just given us, because it gives you an idea of what we're trying to achieve today. At times it feels like it's beyond you, but in retrospect, when you think about those experiences, you're actually better for it today. We'll be right back after a short break, and we'll hear more also from our other panelists, Fiona. We'll be right back. Good morning. Thank you for staying with Your World. We apologize, just having some few technical hitches. We're outside the studio, coming to you live from the Cafe Deli here on Moi Avenue in Nairobi. And our conversation today is Second Chances, the Thanksgiving edition. It's been a long year coming to the end of it. And this is the time people take to just have some sort of, perspective on the year that has been and the experiences they've gone through. And we're going beyond this year. We're actually going into when the pandemic started and even beyond that, because there are different experiences, different seasons that have made us who we are today. And as always, as like any other human being, when you're going through that experience, it feels bigger than you. But in retrospect, you realize that very thing that you thought would break you actually made you a stronger person today. So still with Elizabeth Merab, who is a health and science journalist, Peter Kitavi, who is a leadership enthusiast, program assistant, 1 Million Strong, and Faith Kathure, who is a VP brand management at Luku. Now, we'd had from Elizabeth, we'd had from Peter. Let's hear from Fiona. When we talk about second chances, what does that mean to you?
Second chances means when you get to a point where you feel like you don't have, like you get to rock bottom, like you said, you lose hope. You feel like all hope is lost. But through your support system, through your friends, your family, through the people around you, you find a way, or you find the courage to just pull yourself together and try to figure out a plan, a strategy on how you're going to get back on your feet. And also while at that, things playing out right. Like I feel like, just God giving you the guidance and just finding things falling in place. So to me, second chances.
Okay, so when you talk about that, you're coming from a point of experience. The last 2 years have been quite a journey for you. Give us a tidbit of what the challenges have been.
Okay, so I'll start with 2019. I had my baby in 2019. I was working as well, so I went back to work towards the end of 2019. Going back to work, I was under so much pressure. I had a fear of losing my job, being that my husband and I, we are a very young couple. Both of us really needed to have the job because we also have a newborn baby. And I had so much pressure going back to work because also there had been a thing of maybe previously, for me, people going for maternity leave and coming back and you don't have your job anymore. So I was really afraid to lose my job. So I put so much pressure on myself to try and perform, to try and be like, to really keep my job. But in the long run, it became overwhelming. I went into depression. I was really stressed. I was really overwhelmed. I got sick. I got Bell's palsy, which the left side of my face, the right side of my face was paralyzed for a month. At the time, during that time, the doctors were telling you have a 20% chance of not recovering, an 80% chance of recovering. So in my head, I'm like, okay. During that time, I had to leave my work. So I left work. Then I was really stressed out and thinking, okay, so my face, I can't move my face. May smile, smile and the whole face moves to one side.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I may never recover. My baby might not know how I smile. I think I had a beautiful smile, and I'm like, he will never
You
know.
have a beautiful smile.
Thank you. So I'm like, he will never know. I was like, I'm just been married for less than a year, and I don't look the way I used to. Will that affect everything? I was really stressed out. And at that time, I wasn't working. Also, my husband's job during that time, also they got affected with COVID, so he also wasn't he wasn't paid for a couple of months. So at that time, we have a newborn baby, just a few months old. Both of us are unemployed. We don't have a salary. So things were really tough.
And this is within the pandemic?
Yes.
So
after I left work, a couple of weeks later is when now the pandemic hit. So trying to look for a job, people are not hiring. No one is hiring. You're not getting callbacks, nothing. So it was really tough. We were trying to find ways on
how we're going to save money. We were like, okay, so if it's with food, instead of like buying bread every day, let's buy yeast. Let's try and bake the bread at home, and instead of buying packets of milk, we buy the ones straight from a cow. I think it's cheaper. So we did that. I tried to bake the bread. It backfired. Didn't work out. So I tried to look at different ways, because we already have the ingredients. We have the yeast, and I'm like, okay, let's look at different ways in which I can use this ingredient instead of just throwing them away without trying to bake it. And I saw on YouTube how to make donuts. I tried to make them at home one time, posted them on my Instagram, and people were asking me, are you selling them? How much would you sell this for? So we thought, okay, let's just try it out. And I opened an Instagram page called The Goods, and it really peaked. At that time, we used to make up to 6K a day, which was a lot for us, especially at that time, because we both didn't have a source of income. So of course, we needed money for food, we needed money for, you know, all the things, upkeep in the house, and it really came in handy. So yeah.
So I'm going to stop you there, because this story gets better and better, and it's interesting that just having that spark of hope gave you the strength to keep going and trying different things, and we'll hear what else you delved into. Okay, so Peter, you told us rock bottom, not being able to literally wake up in the morning, and this has been a reality in your life. Tell us about it.
In 2019, I graduated from the Kenya Institute of Character Development, and yeah, I had been in a relationship for 4 years. It was really close to getting married, you know. Had already set up a wedding date. We had already had, you know, visited each other's parents.
Oh, the cultural bit was done.
No, not the cultural bit. This is the formal way, so that they know, like, yo, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, this is me.
My intention.
Don't look for anyone else. I know my intentions. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also on the parent side, my parents' side, like, they already knew, like, this is it. This is the one. We already know what date it is.
Yeah.
We already know who we want to do life with. So it's just a matter of months, and you know, we couldn't move forward. It just couldn't happen moving forward, and I knew that it wasn't possible because we had a huge difference in our value systems and our priority and where we wanted to go, and it was really difficult because you think you're marrying for yourself, and then at that time you realize there's a whole lot of friends, family, community who are behind you, who are for you, and the thought of having to explain to everyone. So it was really difficult. It was really, really hard, and the thought of you being seen as a failure as a man, you know, because what excuse are you possibly going to give someone, you know? Because the easier way out of it looks like, just let's go get on with it, you know, have a beautiful wedding, hit your timeline ambition, because it has always been my ambition. I want to marry young and to have kids when I'm young, and I want to do life when I'm young, you know.
How young were we?
I had turned 27 then. Yeah, so I knew, I mean, this thing is it. Everything that I'd always anticipated to happen had been happening, and then this thing comes and you're back to being, I can't even say that S word.
Single.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It was really difficult. It was a very difficult season for me because I saw myself as a failure a lot for just not being able to uphold that relationship.
Okay, so for you, you say failure is what struck home a lot. What are the other things that you struggled with, especially emotionally and psychologically?
You're going there. Okay. I think on an introspective side, just feeling like you're not good enough. You'd probably not be good enough for any someone's daughter before, you know. You've had the track record where, you know, you tell yourself, my relationships normally don't pass 8 months, you know. And then it goes and you're like, okay, we're here for 1 year, and then another, and then this one doesn't work out, and so you're saying, is this it? It's the Lord telling me that it's time for me to be a priest, you know. This thing is not for me. Celibacy is my portion. And it was really difficult to just even look at myself in the mirror, because there was just a lot of surrounding on singleness, which was something that I hadn't seen as a beautiful thing for a very long time. yeah, I hadn't seen it as a beautiful space or a beautiful season for that time, because in my head, I mean, I used to ask myself, but you're wiser. By wiser I mean older, yeah. You have a stable income. Can't you just see anyone too around you and just say, hey, just take my number, take your number, just get into a relationship, yeah. But just realizing that this thing is complex, that just getting into a marriage is not the end goal, really. You're fighting for what you're happy, for what makes you happy. Fighting for your value system seemed to be something that's a bit more of a priority.
Oh, wow. And kudos to you for standing your ground. Many wouldn't, and you'd realize later when you've already now done the deed, gotten married, and now you have to walk away from a marriage. Right. Okay, so I'd like to hear more about how we literally picked ourselves up and looked at singlehood as a beautiful thing again before we found our footing again. But let me go back to Faith for a moment there. When you had Bell's Percy, and this is a big deal because literally one side of your face falls, so to speak. When you would look yourself in the mirror, knowing what got you there, which were the stresses of work, what was going through your mind?
I was just like, why was it a must? Why me? Why would I push myself so hard for something that's not even mine? like the organization wasn't mine, and I was like, if I died today, tomorrow someone definitely find a replacement very soon. So, and I'm like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Was it worth everything? And it was really hard considering, it's very physical. It's something you see in the mirror. It's something that you're trying to sleep, one eye, you can't close the eye. Like, I had to get an eye patch. I had to get teardrops, fake teardrops, because now I can't blink, so the eye doesn't even produce tears, and the eye gets dry. It was crazy. I just kept wondering why did I even push myself to this point? And it's not even my own. It's not something that I'm doing for myself. I'm doing it for someone else. And maybe if something happens to me today, they will definitely find a replacement for me.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really dark time for me.
Oh, wow.
Really dark.
Okay, let's hear from Merab. Merab is a sickle cell warrior, as they call themselves, because this is a lifelong journey. Okay, so you said at some point, especially in this year, you had so many chances to give up, but you didn't. You did. So tell me, when did it get so bad? And when we talk about sickle cell getting so bad, what does that mean?
Well, I can't sit here today and talk about sickle cell without giving a tribute to my friend. 2 days ago, I lost a friend. His name is Dennis Awich. He was a sickle cell warrior too. Unfortunately, we are mourning him, and many other sicklers who've died between July and now. They lost the battle. And every time I think about those sicklers who've succumbed, I can't help but go back to that space, because I was at such a low point between July and September, and it was a time where COVID, the surge in the country was so high. Remember the third and fourth wave, they were not very good, and so you have all these painful attacks and you can't go to hospital, or rather if you go to hospital there are no beds. The way hospitals used to say they are allocating COVID beds and non-COVID beds. There were no distinctions at that time.
Okay, and perhaps for somebody who does not know about sickle cell, when you say attacks, they're called crisis. Describe a crisis moment.
It's difficult. It's difficult to describe a crisis, but I'll try. So sickle cell is a blood disorder, really, and it affects the red blood cells, which carry oxygen, and without oxygen, our bodies cannot move. Literally, you ought to have oxygen to move. Even to breathe, you need oxygen. So you can imagine if your body is operating on half capacity of oxygen that it needs. That already strains so many organs in your body. And how that presents itself really is pain. So think of it as a headache or a migraine that you have persistently, and it's nagging, it's not going anywhere. And a simple paracetamol cannot relieve the pain, you know. Or the fatigue that you feel, and you feel that you have a backache, a constant backache that maybe you need to sleep off, or you need to take a shower,
Yeah.
and it will resolve. Now, in this case, a shower does not help. You need specific medication, pain medication, to help relieve that pain. You need hydration to help move the blood in your blood vessels, because what happens is that because these red cells have less oxygen, they curve instead of having a normal
Cylindrical shape.
you know. We call it biconcave.
Yeah.
So this cylindrical shape makes these cells, they give the cells the ability to navigate through small blood vessels. You know, your body is a network of blood vessels. So there's those very small blood vessels where these cells need to twist and curve and get through. But with sickle cell, you find that these cells now look like a banana. And if they look like a banana, they go and clog. And that blockage means that oxygen is not reaching the other part of the body. Say they block, they come and clog at the elbow. It means that either your upper part of the arm is not getting oxygen, or the lower part of the arm. And that means it's slowly dying. Because without oxygen, your body organs start dying. And that death presents as pain. Yeah? And it's pain that you cannot ignore. And it's pain that makes a 28-year-old person want to cry and roll on the floor. And so you need immediate medical care. Because it's either that the blood levels have been so low that the oxygen, they cannot sustain the oxygen that you need, or there's an infection in your body. Think of it as a flu. A flu will cause pain because every strain on your body results into less oxygen. Yeah. When you're climbing a mountain, or you're taking an airplane ride, you know, the higher you go, the cooler it becomes, the less oxygen you have. So that creates a strain, and every movement in that we have daily creates strains. So those are the pains that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now imagine you need to address this pain. Oral medications that you have at home are not working. The next step is that you need to go to the nearest facility. If you go to a nearest facility, chances are that you'll find that most of the healthcare workers, and it's not really their fault per se, but you find that they treat you or handle you based on the textbook idea of sickle cell. Yeah, that when you see a sickle cell patient, you need to hydrate. That means give them water, so that again these blood vessels, these blood cells become thinner because they thicken. Become thinner and able to move again. And then you address the pain using the painkillers, low-level painkillers, and then see what else is causing these painful attacks.
Okay, let me stop you there because I need to take a quick break. But when we come back now, you will lay it out for us. You're in the middle of a crisis. You've gone into a facility and they don't have a bed for you. What does that mean for you? How did that play out? We'll be right back. Good morning. Still at the capital here in Nairobi, and our conversation is Second Chances, the Thanksgiving edition. As you've heard from Elizabeth, Peter, and of course Fiona, is that everyone has a story to tell, and at times it feels like you can never come out of that difficult situation. But here they are today talking about it. And so far we've laid out what exactly the challenges are. And before we went to break, Merabi were talking about leaving this reality of pain because of the disease that you live with, sickle cell. And it's within the pandemic, you're going through a crisis, you are in full-blown pain. and you get to the facility and they cannot accommodate you?
Yeah. So the first time that happened was in mid-July. I had just come from hospital, and I'm one of those Kenyans who got early vaccinations. Yeah. So when I got my first dose of the vaccine, unfortunately, there was a side effect. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about that.
It's okay.
Encouraging people to still go for vaccination. I mean, it didn't deter me from getting fully vaccinated, though I developed a blood clot. And so it complicated or delayed my care. And therefore, I had to now realize that I needed to readjust a few things because my right leg was so swollen and I could not move. And so I'm in pain. I have a blood clot. The hospital beds are full. And I have to be treated inside an ambulance at some point because there were no beds.
Yeah.
And at some point, I also had to leave one facility with a needle on my neck because they could not admit me. And we had to find a different facility. And that means that when you move from one facility to another, you're not moving with the doctors who are managing you. You're moving with to a new team of doctors with a whole different set of care that may not be standardized. And I talk about standardization of care because for the first time in July again, Kenya got the first sickle cell guidelines. That means that now at least health facilities across the country will offer standard care, standardized care, that it doesn't matter where you go to. If I fall sick in Mandera, I'll be treated the same way if I was in Aga Khan, you know. That was not happening previously. And so it's in the middle of the pandemic and somebody tells you, you know, you're better off. You're better off that you don't have corona. Yeah. But you're here in pain, crouching on the floor and writhing and crying, and you don't know if you're getting out of this because the medications cannot be administered at home. You have to be in a facility and a HDU for that matter. And the HDU is full. Yeah. So what do? You go back home in pain.
Wow.
Yeah? And that is where hope starts diminishing. And you start wondering, why are you even fighting? You start these thoughts that you fought for so long, you had enough. I already lost a sister to the disease in 2013, so I was just at a point where I was feeling, this is it. I've done some of the things that I never thought I'd ever do as a sickler or as a sickle cell warrior. And I think my time is up. Yeah. And I was getting to that space, that negative mental space where now you start toying with suicide, and it's not so cool because you're not seeing a way out of it. You're just in this abyss, and you're not seeing all these lifelines that the people who care about you, the people who love you are throwing at you. My doctors were doing the most, trying to tell me that I'm still a symbol of hope. My family was there trying to understand, you know, if someone does not feel that pain, you cannot appreciate it, And of course, I understand that, and I always get questions like, so what are you feeling? How does it feel to be in pain? You're supposed to be used to this pain, I mean, you felt it all your life, but pain is never the same. And so this year I was diagnosed again with chronic pain, something that emanated from these prolonged painful attacks, And we had to re-strategize. So what got me to look at life again the way I was looking at it, all vibrant, I can conquer the world, was the fact that my doctor was able to tell me that we can find a way of managing the pain outpatient. So I didn't need to go to get hospitalized to get the care that I needed. And that changed something because now I was able to get back on my feet. I was able to go back to work.
I love the fact that you've brought it to a point of hope. Hope started coming back. There was an option other than giving up. And we'll get to understand exactly what this option is and how your quality of life has improved since then. But even as you listen to her, Fiona, you know, they say you listen to someone else's issues and you're like, hey, I thought my cross was heavy. Do you empathize with that and realize that even in the worst of circumstances, God gives you something that you can handle, perhaps?
Yes. I'm a strong believer of God won't give you something that you can't handle. All right? And no matter what, like, listening to her story, I feel it's not easy for everyone. Everyone struggles with different things. You might find someone else might be thinking maybe, okay, someone might have been going through or is currently going through something extremely hard and thinking that maybe it's the end of the world, and you hear someone else's story and you're like, you know what, because of this, then I need to put myself together, and I also need to, you know, bring in my A game as well. I can handle it as well. You know, I feel like her story also just it also gives you a little bit of hope. Also for me, with what I went through, I feel like it's not something that you can't handle. God also gives you a way. Like you'll always find a way.
And speaking about finding a way, you found a way out of your situation. First, let's talk about resolving Bell's palsy. How did that go?
So I used to go for physiotherapy, where they would shock my face, the nerves on my face.
Yeah.
For a couple of minutes, so you're being electrocuted, but you can't feel it. But now, slowly, as you continue going for the sessions, you start feeling a little bit. You find, because you know you have to be in front of a mirror and you try to raise your eyebrows. You see one is going up, one is not. But after some time, you start seeing just a little bit. It seems like it's so small, but it was such big wins at the time. Like, if I could just, you know, like move my nose like this and my nostril moves, I'd call my mom and I'm like, today my nostril moved. As in, you know, my eyebrow went up a little.
The things we take for granted,
the things we take for granted.
Wow.
So it's like, I'm able to smile a little, like, because, you know, at some point you'd smile and the whole face goes to one side. So I was able to, like, see, you can even move your lip up a little bit. I'd have to record it, and I'm sending it to my family, to the group, and I'm like, look, my lip moved today. So small wins, we take so many things for granted. During that time, I figured we really take a lot for granted. The fact that right now you can talk, you can smile. I used to look at my photos and I'm like, why wasn't I smiling for this photo? I have a really beautiful phone. And I used to tell God, please, if you heal me, I promise I will always smile. In all my pictures, I will make sure I'm smiling. Like, you take the little things, so many little things for granted. The fact that you can move your hand, you can move your finger, the fact that you can blink. Some people can't. So be grateful for the little things. Even if you're going through so much, just look through all the small things that you're able to do at the moment and be grateful for that, because there's someone out there who's praying for like to be able to do what you're able to do at that time. So
we hear you, Peter. I see you nodding and kind of feeling what she's saying. So when did the light shine on you?
I mean, first of all, I just feel like I'm sitting in between two warriors because
I know. Yeah.
This is really good. I think light started shining not so long after I went into the deep, and I think I owe it a lot to my friends, some really, really close friends that I have, because if there's one thing they didn't allow me is to dwell there for long, you know. There's something interesting about our human hearts. We are very susceptible to offense. You know, we are very, it's almost as if we go out looking for offense. You know, we go out looking for a reason why you want to hold offense against someone, against something that has happened to you, against a condition, against a season, and you almost want to hold so much anger against it, you know. And there's something that I learned then that I swear this has always stuck to me. I can use this as an example, yeah. Gladys, how much do you think this glass weighs?
Okay, 500 grams, perhaps?
500, yeah. I think the weight of this glass is dependent on how long I hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the sense that if I hold this for seconds, I mean it's nothing. I can't feel anything right now, but I'm pretty sure if I hold it for a week on end, I'll be rushed to hospital because my nerves will be gone. If I hold it for a year, I don't think I'll have an arm. And I think that's the same way we hold offense to our hearts, you know. The sooner or quicker you let go of it, the quicker it's not going to hold any dominance over you. But I find sometimes that when we choose to hold on to these things that have hit us really, really hard, it's very easy for us to be messed up. It's very easy for us to lose our identity. It's very easy for us not to be able to even look at ourselves in the mirror and recognize who we are turning out to be because of how much offense we have been able to hold, how much unforgiveness. You know, you keep on blaming so many seasons against you. And yes, I mean, they have happened to you. But I think just choosing to fight for yourself in that season, I think that really goes a long way.
Tell me this, Peter. What did you learn about yourself in that season?
So this thing that Kenya is currently talking about character development, for real, that thing is a character development. You know why? Because you realize that you're actually patient. You do realize you're very patient. You do realize that you have some strengths inside of you that you possibly did not know you're able to, to have,
Tolerance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You do realize that your faith is way stronger than you actually thought it was, you know? Yeah, because you're able to look at someone who did something wrong to you, and you actually see them for who they are, not because of what they've done, you know. You're able to look at yourself and be proud of yourself, even though at some point you couldn't live with something that you did yourself.
Yeah.
I think just growing up to be at a place where you are at a better person and you see hope because you see in yourself at that particular moment, even though nobody sees it, that season could probably be the best thing that has ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't look like it at that particular moment, but that could be possibly the best season that has ever happened to you. Yeah.
Character development. Now, that is something that this Kanairo has taught us a thing or two, but it's just life generally, all right? So even as we take another short break, I just would like to hear from Merab especially because this is a lifelong reality for you. Then you've gotten to rock bottom a couple of times, but this one was a bit darker and perhaps lower. And now there is a light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps just an adjustment to how you manage the condition, right? And how is that going for you?
Yeah, so let me mention two things.
Yes.
And these two things happened to me during the pandemic. So Kenya first reported the first case on March 2nd. Apparently, I was the person who covered that, you know. And then shortly after, I had to work from home because I am a vulnerable person, given that the condition, And then in October, when all these things are happening, October 2020, 8 days to my birthday, the doctors tell me that they need to operate on both my legs. And that needed to, for recovery to happen, I needed to be on a wheelchair for 4 months. So you've been walking on your own all your life. And all of a sudden, you're told, the bones, these femoral bones, the bones on the hips, are dying. So we need to reintroduce blood flow. And to do that successfully, you'll have to use a wheelchair. You'll have to learn to walk again. That means walking on, using walking frames. That meant having a full-time caregiver. It was a real shock. Then months later, after recovery and I started walking again, I'm back there. Now this time I have to use compression stockings. I have to take blood thinners. I could not walk again on my own because of the blood clots.
Yeah.
And so I started wondering, is this really, I know all through my life that that sickle cell has a toll on the body organs.
Yes.
I just never saw myself as a, a car that is going to break down in parts. Yeah. So, and that is what I was telling my doctor, you know, why am I breaking down? It's like every time we fix one thing, I have to come back here so that we fix another, you know. And so it's really taking away from the dreams I had, the hopes I had, the ambitions I had set. I'm very ambitious. And then these whole painful attacks that were recurrent and no way to resolve them come up. And at that point, realizing that, well, you know, my father liked saying that when you're pushed to the wall is such concrete that you cannot move through, you have to come back. So for me, I think life and sickle cell had just pushed me to a wall, and I had no way through, so I had to come back. Yeah, and I had to face it head on, you know. And facing sickle cell head on meant accepting that I needed to go to hospital every week. That means every Monday at 5 in the morning, I'm at the hospital for 7 hours a day, so that this pain can be brought under control. It meant that I could not be at work when I wanted to, because pain has a way of playing tricks with your mind. And there are days that I just had to cancel the whole day, you know. I plan that I want to do A, B, C, D, and my back is just saying, Merab, we are not doing this. You need to attend to us. You know, it's like you're having a conversation with somebody, but this person is in your head, and therefore you have to obey. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I've had to learn. There is the realization that yes, now I am a chronic pain patient, that there are certain things that I have to consciously do, like consciously go out to exercise. I mean, by going by my body size, I really don't like exercising. You know, I have to consciously put in 1.5 hours of walking, of using dumbbells, so that I can strengthen my body. And I need to rest, something that I don't know how to do. I have to learn. I'm sleep training, you know. Those are things that I used to take for granted. The very simple things, like Frida has said. Frida, yes.
Fiona, sorry. Yes.
Fiona has said, the very simple things in life that we take for granted, one day just come crumbling down. A friend of mine yesterday was telling me that during COVID, there's a patient who lost their leg. They had to be amputated, and they went in with COVID. But because of a blood clot in their leg, they had to lose the leg. But given that they were just the 2 patients out of 100 who survived a ventilator during that time, he was okay losing the leg, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, because he had a renewed sense of hope, a renewed sense of life to it. So the lesson here is taking the battles. When the punches come in, you can't really escape them. Yeah. But learning how to reach out to those for those lifelines, and climbing out of that hole is really what differentiates one person from the other.
Very well said. That is a perfect place to actually take another short break here on Your World. When we come back, we will hear more from both Fiona and Peter on their journey this far, because as you've heard, it came from a dark place, found hope, and hope has just been giving hope. It's just been a gift that keeps giving, and that's what we'll be listening to in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gachanja, still with Elizabeth, Peter and Fiona, even as we have a conversation about second chances, the Thanksgiving edition. It's coming to the end of the year, and of course this is a time we take time to just look back and see what the year has brought our way, perhaps just debunk on some of the experiences we've gone through and what lessons they have actually taught us, because they say we are always better for it. And just before we went to break, Elizabeth said, what differentiates one person from the other is how you actually turn around these lemons to make the lemonade that can take you through the rest of your life. And speaking of which, we'd asked you on the question of the day, what are you thankful for this year? Whatever it is, small, big, share that with us. Hashtag is new normal. We have Marwanga Okongo who says, the gift of life. I thank God to be alive today. Yegon Kipto Steven says, good health and the gift of life. Jane Jerry, gift of life and being full of good health. Moses Onyango Odote says, life, my new wife and my newborn boy. All right, congratulations, Moses. And Makumbi here says, I narrowly survived COVID-19. Thank you for sharing. And of course, this is a reality of so many people today. And unfortunately, we're also living in the reality that many others have lost the battle to COVID-19, leaving many other family members and close friends grieving of their loss. And I'm happy to hear from the stories today that we acknowledge, yes, there is pain that comes with every experience, and it sort of tears you apart, but then again, in itself, it brings you back into a better person, you know. And today, your experience, Fiona, having, you know, beat Bell palsy and coming back and actually starting yourself on the economic path, economic empowerment path, how has that been working out? Tulianza na mkate ikakata. We went to the donuts that were really lucrative. So where are we today?
So, right now I'm a VP of brand management for a company called Luku. It's a startup. This company came about from my husband and his friend. They both have experience in the fashion industry, and also we all have experience in e-commerce, and we wanted to give a solution to you know, all the people who are selling fashion, be it second-hand or just new clothes. But right now we're really prioritizing the second-hand.
Ntumba.
Ntumba, exactly. So we are, with Luku, we are an e-commerce platform for selling Ntumba, all right, or fashion items, where you can buy, sell, and discover. So what we do, yeah, so let me just give the journey to come to that. So, so my hubby and his friend, they had the idea, they talk about it, and they wanted to develop the app, and I always give in my input because I already have the background of e-commerce, and also I'm really good with communication, sales, and marketing. So I just give in my ideas. I'm like, you know, you can also try this, also to get people to know you, you can try this and that. And through that, they told me, okay, you know what, let's take this seriously, all right? We think you can help us with the marketing bit, but what you need to do is do a whole presentation, tell us how you're going to do, like, you need to take it seriously, tell us how you want, like, your vision on how you want to do this whole thing, do it as a whole, like, document everything, and then present it to us. And that's what I did. I took it very seriously. So now I joined the team as a VP of the brand management. During that time, we got to join various competitions. For example, Founders Live. For this, I feel like the main reason why we wanted to get into these competitions is just to get people talking about us, to get people to know what we want to achieve, to know what we're all about. And we were able to do that, to achieve that. It was different competitions, different stages.
Yes.
And to move to the next stage, you need to get the highest votes, all right? And so getting people to vote for you, you have to get people to come, watch your pitch, go through the whole thing. It's like an entire meeting or something, or different people with different business ideas coming to pitch. So come and watch your pitch, and if they're interested, they vote for you. And we managed to win a couple of that. So it had 4 stages.
Yes.
We won 3. We didn't manage to win the last one. But the 3 that we won, we managed to get credits worth $10,000 just to help with the hosting and everything for the company, just to help us to get up from the ground up. And I feel like that was a really, 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 really huge moment for us. So with that, now we're currently developing the app. We are actually done. We are doing internal testing right now, and then once we are satisfied with how it looks, then we're going to launch it. But yes, it's a platform where you can come, you buy and sell, and discover fashion. You'd get, like right now, you see the advantage of it. Right now, with COVID, remember there's a time we couldn't go to the markets. You can't go because, most of us, we all shop in Tumba. We've been to Toy, we've been to Gikomba, and during the pandemic, people weren't allowed to go to those places because of the crowds and whatnot. And you'd find most of these thrift sellers opened Instagram shops, right? But the biggest issue was they'd have to figure out their own packaging. They had to figure out their own logistics for delivery, which is a hassle. Bearing in mind, I had the online business for selling donuts. I completely understand that the packaging bit can be expensive. It can be such a headache. And also delivery, dealing with different riders, someone can go and disrespect your customer, and it tarnishes the whole business. So I completely understand, although it's in a different category, but you completely understand the hassles that an online business owner would go through. So with Luku, we are offering that solution where you can post your items just how you do it on social media, but also we give you packaging, and also we sort for you your delivery. So it's you get like an all-round solution for everything that you want to do.
All right. So see how you light up talking about this, new season that you are in. And when you take those little steps back to where you started from, what has it taught you about yourself?
I'm stronger than I think, right? Emotionally, very strong. Physically, stronger than I think. And also, we wouldn't have made it this far, my husband and I, and even the whole team, just without the support system behind us. Our friends, our families, people came through for us. Even for those votes and whatnot, like with the Founders Live, you'd find you're writing it in a group, and everyone in that group, they're like, send me the message, I want to send it to my friends, I want to send it to everyone, and you'd find it's like a whole, it's a ripple effect. So I feel like we wouldn't have made it this far without the support system, our friends and family, and also God came through for us. In the nick of time, I came to understand what the nick of time means. Like when people say, God always comes through for you in the nick of time. The times you'd get just to the last minute, like when you're about to lose hope completely, at the very end, then something happens out of the blue, something you didn't expect, and it propels you to another, like you take a few more steps, and then again, like nick of time. God showed us, clearly elaborated what the nick of time means.
I love to hear that. Peter, for you, you've gone through this, your friends you've already mentioned were really there for you, very instrumental for you. And today you're actually looking at life differently, and even in another serious relationship. Talk about that.
Like I said, one thing I'm really grateful for is just really having friends who not only were there physically to make sure that you get by doing the basic things. You've had your meals for the day, you've taken a shower, you've left your home, but really just being in a position where they were able to lift up mirrors and remember to show you who you really are. To remember to just really show you who you really are, what you're made of, what your purpose is for, and the things that spark you. Did you see how she glowed up when she was saying this?
I know.
Yeah. But at that moment when you're at your rock bottom, you really can't see that, at least for yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm really grateful for the friends who were able to see the things that I had been ambitious for. They really were able to pull that up for me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my faith, because it helped me walk through, the promises that God had instilled for me. They didn't change because of a situation that I didn't anticipate to be at, but found myself in. And that's something I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for therapy. This thing works. It works. All
right. I love the fact that this is coming from a guy. Take notes.
It really, really works. Yeah. So you no longer have to keep on saying, I was good and stuff, but someone's daughter messed me. No, just go for therapy, friend. As in, this thing legit works, and it helps you see yourself from a different lens. You no longer see yourself only as a victim person, because you're not, I mean, we're not all angels. I mean, I also had a fair portion of...
It takes two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm also really grateful for. I'm grateful that I was able to rediscover a lot of things in myself that I knew are there but were never there. You know, I really love cooking. I do. But I hadn't opened that door for years.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's almost as if, like, I just want to cook, you know.
Yeah.
And COVID just gave me the perfect platform to do so, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Formed a better community of guys I started running with. I mean, it was all turning up to be really grateful. And the highlight is I found love once again. So
look at
that's something
that.
that I'm grateful for.
Yay, good stuff. So what are you good at cooking?
Sorry?
What are you good at cooking?
Well, my specialty is in meat. Preference pork. You can never go wrong with that.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take you up on that
Okay.
sometime. Okay.
Great.
All right. So, Merab, for you, what are you grateful for?
Listening to Fiona and Peter here,
Yeah.
clearly, I need his God of love,
To shine on you.
you know, and I need her God of business.
Yeah.
But clearly, for me, it's the renewal or renewed ambition that I had lost, really, because, like I said, I'm ambitious, but sickle cell just showed me your ambitions can wait. Yeah. So that renewed hope to apply for things that I had shelved, the hope and acceptance to show up. I have been postponing your interview for so long.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes. Okay. By the way, I've been pursuing Merab to do this interview for 2 years. So I'm grateful she's here. Yeah.
Yeah, so the push from very close people to just pick up, because there's somebody somewhere who needs that hope. They need to see a sense that they can get up again. So I think for me that is my purpose. I just want another Sikla to know that yes, you can live with the pain, and there are dark days, but you can get out of it and you can conquer whatever you want to achieve. It's still a learning process, of course. There are bad days, and bad days are really, really bad. You second guess your moves. You wonder where you're going to get money to go to hospital. You know, you wonder whether you're going to show up when your friends are calling or work is calling. So just that push to get up and put one foot in front of the other, for me, is what I'd say I am going into Christmas season with. Because man, if you can't walk and you're used to walking, it gives you another sense of dependence that you never really thought you'd need. Yeah, so for me, it's as simple as that.
I hear
Just
you.
putting one foot in front of the other.
And as I mentioned, some of these experiences we go through, some are temporary, some are permanent. And I think our panel today represents that whole threshold, because for you, Merab, this is a permanent situation in terms of you living with this condition. But still, you put your best foot forward every single day. For the two of you, life kicked you off your feet, but here you are today to say that you're actually finding a better season and a better place for you. So even as we bring this to a close, I'll start off with the gentleman. There are many who perhaps are looking back into the year or whatever season they've been and thinking, man, this is too much. I don't have it in me to keep going. Perhaps this was not made for me, and, you know, just hopeless, you know, and feeling beat down. What would you like to encourage them?
Is it okay if I target mainly the
Feel
gentleman?
free.
Yeah.
Feel free.
So there's a quote that says, many men die in their 20s, but they get buried in their 70s. And, you know, when life gives you curveballs, there's this thing again with the sayings. I love these sayings. These questions people keep on asking you. Did you die? If you didn't die, you lived. And I think the greatest thing you can ever do to yourself is to live. Don't die out of a situation or a season that hit you, but just actually live. Live like it's your last day ever. Live the dash. Live. Make sure every single day counts, because there's something interesting about our lives. Every single time we are at rock bottoms, we only think about ourselves. But in retrospect, there's a whole generation that is going to mimic you. There's so many people who look up to you. They won't tell you, but they actually look up to you. There's so many people in a food chain, I call it a hope food chain, who are really feeding off from the hope that you have, the faith that you have, the ambition that you have, the vision that you have, and all that can't go to waste because you're not living. So live. Yeah.
Leave. Fiona.
For me, I think whatever you're going through, because for so many people, you might be going through, even if it may not be as serious or as intense as it is for other people, but for you, at that point in time, it might be something heavy. But always try to look for something to be grateful for. All right, I think it keeps your mind, or it just changes your whole perspective of everything. So, for example, like for me, the time when I was sick, of course, it was so dark for me. Like it was a really dark place for me. But I kept saying, okay, you know what? Even if my baby won't see my smile, but I'm still here. My baby is here, and I'm here. Right? The fact that you're alive, the fact that you've seen another day is an opportunity for you to try and make a difference in your life or in someone else's life. So don't lose all hope and just find something to be grateful for. Even if you're really, really sick, or if maybe you're really, really broke, because that also it's a heavy toll on people. Just try and see, okay, I'm very, very broke, but you know what? I woke up today. I'm very, very broke, but I can walk, I can read, I can open my eyes and look at the laptop and try and look for jobs. I can do something. Because someone else out there that might not be able to do the same things that you can. So just always find, in your darkest of times, in your darkest of moments, just try and find the few things that you can really be grateful for. And I think that makes a really huge difference in your perspective, and even with that, your emotions and everything. I think things just start coming together.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's the law of attraction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you. So, Marib, we celebrate you and thank you for coming 2 years later. But even as we close, your words of encouragement, of course, to the sicklers that are watching you today, and perhaps caregivers of the same, and just people doing life.
So I think I need to say this. Besides being a sickle cell patient, besides being a sickle cell patient, I'm a multi-award winning health and science journalist.
Yes, she is.
That is what I do, and I really love doing that. So sickle cell is just something else that slows me down, but I try to overcome it. So to the warriors and the caregivers, we are here to give hope to young warriors that you can live beyond the standard 18 years, that you can fly. Because there is this misconception that you cannot take a flight because your oxygen levels may not be able to sustain that flight. You end up having a painful crisis. It can happen, but a crisis happens for so many reasons. Some are known, some are not known, Sometimes you can just be in pain and nobody knows why you're in pain, but that pain has to be addressed. What was the question?
Your encouragement to just all of us doing life.
Yeah, so, I mean, we are all individuals with ambitions. I don't think there is any human being who's born hopeless. It's just that at some point in living life, we might get off traction, or we might get off that track that we set out. When you're young, you say when I grow up, I want to be this. I never wanted to be a journalist, but I am a journalist.
But here we are.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get there, you give it your best shot, and you appreciate all those curveballs, because that is those curveballs make life what life is. And the support system, really, because your support system can be your family, can be your friends, can be your doctors, can be your colleagues. In the case of warriors, it's a whole system, a multidisciplinary system that swings into action to make sure that that one person is able to get up from the bed and go out, you know. It's a system that makes sure that that sickler might not sleep through the night. They might see the sunrise and sunset, but they still need to see tomorrow, you know. And at some point, we lose battles, which is okay, I think, because that is the cycle of life.
Yeah.
But that does not take away from the fact that you have something to give and the world still needs you.
Very well said, very well said. Elizabeth Mero, Health and Science journalist, and of course, Peter Kitavi, leadership enthusiast, program assistant, 1 million strong, and we have Faith Kathure, who is the VP brand management at Luku. Guys, this was an enriching moment for me and time well spent over breakfast here at the Cafe Deli. And if nothing else, if you don't remember anything else, I think the message here is there is light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't matter how bad it is. If you can remember to look into your circumstance and find that ray of hope, it has a way of sparking a lot more fire in you to put your best foot forward, no matter the circumstances. My name is Gladys Gachanja. This has been Your World. Again, coming to you live from the Cafe Deli here in Nairobi, from the team behind the scenes making this happen, and of course those in the gallery in studio. We thank you, and until next time, see you.